Hi everybody, welcome back to another process video. And today I am working with a challenge for Stamp It Like It's Hot, which is a monthly YouTube series inspiring you to use your stamps. And so this month our challenge was to use a found object to stamp, and I decided to go with a bottle cap, which you can see there. I tried a Snapple cap first, but when I stamped it, it didn't give me a solid line. It gave me more like a dotted line, which wasn't really what I was going for. And so I went to my recycling bin and found a cap from a Wawa tee, which worked a lot better. It gave me a solid line. And if you're not familiar, Wawa is a convenience store here in like the New Jersey, Pennsylvania area. And they have their own line of iced teas, which my husband loves. So anytime I pass a Wawa, I usually stop and pick up a bunch of their iced teas. So I pulled out a couple inks from the stamp market, and I specifically chose these inks because they are really juicy. Because the bottle cap is not a real stamp, the Distress Oxides I tried first, they sort of didn't really pick up the ink. So I decided that I needed something juicy, and these ink pads are super juicy and they worked great. So I had done a little bit of work off camera before I started stamping. I went with a grid design here. This was inspired by a sketch from Allison Davis for SG. I do not know what bundle this came from. I have my sketches organized by number. Actually, I have them organized in a lot of different ways from her, but one of the ways I have them organized is by number of photos. So if I do get one of her little sketch bundles and it's not theme specific or topic specific or something like that, I will just kind of break it down into my number of photo sketches spot in my binder. So this was in my one photo sketches section, and it had a square photo, which I thought was perfect. So I cut out all the squares on the background. I think they're 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches actually. I think they're 2-inch squares. And I did not put any squares underneath where I knew my photo was going to go, mostly because I felt like, well, number one, that's going to be covered up. Number two, I felt like I then needed like another pattern, and all of these patterns that I'm using were scrap papers. I'm pretty sure all of them were scraps, yeah. And that was kind of nice to be able to just cut out 2-inch squares from scrap papers and not have to cut into a full sheet. The only full sheet I'm using is that background blue paper there. And this is a kit from August 2022. It's a Hip Kit Club kit. It's their line called Chase the Sun. And I remember it came last year at the end of August, like almost September, I believe. And I remember that I was sort of like done scrapbooking Christmas beach photos at that point. I was totally ready to move on to fall. So I pulled this kit out this summer. I think I made one other layout with it. I had made one or two last summer, but I pulled it out and used it for this, and I used it one other time on a layout for Pear Tree Cut Files. And I have 2 more photos from this day at the beach with my friend Joan. We went last August. I went with her and her daughter. So I plan to use this kit one more time to scrapbook those photos. I like this year Hip Kit came out with their like beachy summery kit in July. So that came, you know, like mid-July when I'm still ready to scrapbook summer and beach. I'm just not a fan of summer weather. I like that I'm off from teaching in the summer. Like that's really nice, but honestly, I feel like I'd rather have like the fall season off. So when it hits like mid-August, even like it's going to be August 1st when you see this, and I'm already totally ready for fall. I'm ready to start watching Hocus Pocus. I always get that way in the summertime. I'm just ready for the fall season and cooler weather. Okay, so anyway, while I've been going on about that, I'm working on my title. I used the word sunny. I think in the sketch it called for the title to be lower on the right side, but the way that I tilted my photo, because our heads were kind of tilted in the photo, so I tilted the photo to make it look a little more straight on, which I really like how that came out. I moved the title up. It's going to be Sunny Selfie Smiles, and I love that I'm using the alphabets in these kits. I feel like they always come with such great pre-made titles, like that sheet the word Sunny came from, that I don't use the alphas as much in the Hip Kit Club kits, but they're so fun and so cute. So I'm happy that I got to use them here. So with that bottle cap that I stamped, I did it in a couple of the squares. I tried to keep it tone on tone. So blue on the blue squares, pink, orangey on the orange squares, and so on. And then I stamped the cap 2 more times on the top and the bottom of the layout. And I like how it sort of looks like bubbles, and we were at the beach, so it kind of goes with the water theme, I thought. And on the top one, I must have had some ink on my finger and I have a little smudge there, but I don't worry too much because I end up covering that later on. So this kit has a lot of different embellishments, and right now I'm pulling out the fabric pieces, and I end up using 2 of the circles, and I end up using one on the top of my photo. The one I have there now doesn't stay. I choose a different one and put it on the opposite side, and then later I come back to these and I put one down on the bottom. I make a little cluster on the bottom right of the photo. I really wanted to incorporate 3 of these because I'm very much a visual triangle kind of scrapbooker, but every time I put the blue circle down in the blue squares, or even like on the top or the bottom of the layout, it just doesn't work. Like, I like it there, like next to the photo by my face, but I want an orangey one to go there. So I do play around with it, but I just end up sticking with these 2. Yeah, the top one says right here, right now. The bottom one says let's celebrate summer together. Then that tab stays, and that says relaxing. All right, so I'm moving on to a different type of embellishment. These are the chipboard pieces, and I used quite a few of these. My thought is to make little embellishment clusters in a bunch of the circles that I stamped. And I liked that I had the word sunny, so I end up putting a sun and a cloud up there. And when you'll see me later on try to embellish the top of the layout where I have the 2 blue circles stamped, and I struggle for a little bit there because I feel like the sun and the cloud should go there, but I already had it in this yellow square, which I like, but I just feel like maybe it would have been better put up top, but it was already stuck down. And if you have never had a Hip Kit Club kit, their chipboard is super sticky, so it was not coming off. And I sewed those squares down to the background, so yeah, it was staying there. And there's a lot of cute like sunshine icons in this collection, but it just felt silly to have 2 suns. So I'm going with the snorkel, and I put the little hearts like there are bubbles coming out of the top of the snorkel set. And I've talked about this before in my videos, but I really like using glue dots to adhere my pieces down because it gives it just a slight little lift so it doesn't look like it's flat to the layout. And I like the glue dots from Hobby Lobby. It's their Hobby Lobby brand. I think that they're a good value. Now, I found recently Hobby Lobby has 2 different store brands. They have the Paper Studio, and then they have the Papery Studio. I don't know if you've noticed this, if you have Hobby Lobbies near you. And the Paper Studio is on sale quite often, but the Papery Studio is not usually on sale, and these glue dots are by the Papery Studio. So they're unfortunately never on sale, but they're not expensive to begin with, and there's a lot on the roll. They're very sneaky, aren't they? All right, pulling out the die cut pack. I do use a couple pieces from here. I'm gonna go ahead and use that the Monstera leaf, and I make a little cluster like I had talked about before down at the bottom corner of that photo. I add a couple leaves there. I do add the beach ball. The beach ball's already there. What I mean is I move the beach ball down a little bit to sort of be more within that cluster. And you'll see that I do add a couple more little things in there. Now, I contemplated adding this bathing suit up here in the top corner because when I added it does cover up the stamped circle, but it just looks so cute there, and I like it tucked in that I decide that I don't mind that it covers up my stamped circle. That's okay. There's another monstera leaf I'm going to tuck in there. What I like to do with my die cut packs, and I've heard lots of other scrapbookers say the same thing, is I just kind of go through it and I make a pack of what is definitely not going to work, and then a lot of times I'll put off to the side what I do think is going to work, just to sort of eliminate all of those choices, because there are usually a ton of pieces in the die cut packs in any collection, and it can get a little overwhelming. I did it a little bit differently in this layout. I did eliminate what I did not want, like that's what the lower pile is, but as I was going through, I tried it out on my layout. And I think I did it this way for this layout because I was ready to embellish right away. A lot of times when I go through the die cut pack, I'm looking for pieces that I like that I can use eventually on the layout. I don't always embellish right away. So both ways work. All right, so I'm going to the puffy epoxy stickers. There's these little ones that have these little circles. Almost looks like there's like a sun in the center of them. And then I also had some flowers from when I cut the title off of the sheet that it came with. You can see it there on the side. There's a heart, and then there's also a flower. I used one of the flowers by the beach ball. I do end up using all the pieces that are on that piece I cut off. But first, this kit also had fabric leaves. So earlier I used the fabric tabs and circles, and then these are the fabric leaves, which I put in 2 different spots. And then here are some more chipboards. These are more chipboard phrases. Earlier I was using the chipboard icons. And I am going to put that "so good" there. There is a stamp circle on that orange block. Some of it gets covered up, but that's okay. I feel like there's a little bit of trap space there between smiles and "so good." So I try to put that heart there, but it's just a little too big. I do end up later on putting another one of those epoxy circles that looks like the sun. I do add that leaf up there, and then some more of the flowers. And then there are those suns. I was determined to use all of them, and I think I did. And then I'm thinking about what do I want to add to these circles on the top and the bottom. On the bottom, I add those chipboard wave strips, and I really, really like how that looks. But there were no other chipboard waves in this kit. I was wishing that there were like maybe 1 or 2 more to put on the top, but there was not. So I start to try to embellish that top spot, and like I said earlier, I struggle a little bit with it, so I just leave it alone and I go on. I add this fabric label here. It says "Endless Summer Days." And I do a lot of just kind of going through all of the embellishment packs. I did cut quite a bit of that out because I spend a lot of time just flipping through things and looking at things and going back to the same thing because you're seeing it with fresh eyes for a different spot on your layout. But I eventually decide to put some of these epoxy hearts up there, and then a word phrase. So a couple other things I add before getting to the end of this. I do pull out some Scrap and Happy Studio Flair. It was from the, I believe, April Happy Box. They look like buttons, so you'll see that. And then I also pull out some Pink Fresh Studio really sparkly gems that I add around the layout. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Go ahead and raid your recycling stash and see if you can find something cool to stamp with, or go ahead and try stamping with the lid of a bottle. I think it came out really cool. Hope that you're inspired to scrapbook. Definitely go check out all the other ladies in the playlist playing along with Stamp It Like It's Hot. I've got it all linked below. I hope you have a very creative day and get to do something fun today. See you soon. Close-ups coming soon. Bye-bye.